everybody, Rene Rodriguez. Let's go!
Joking around? Holy.
No. We don't mess around.
Wow.
Guys, you knocked his book off the stand. That's incredible. Guys, thank you so much. Rene Rodriguez, thank you for being here, brother. Appreciate you.
No, I was not expecting. I thought I was going to walk on stage. No big deal.
No, we do it the right way. We do it the right way. Now, Rene, we had about 3 people today pitch their real estate deals from this exact stage.
Nice.
And one of the things that you teach is how to persuade with influence and how to actually communicate properly with people, whether it's raising capital or maybe hiring people, recruiting, whatever it may be. You teach a lot of people all of these things. What do you think is the #1 mistake that people make when they're trying to persuade other people?
There's so many ways to answer that question. You know, I think if we're talking about, I think in this case it's money, right? Will you give me money? And I think there's 2 sides, the logical and the emotional piece that we have to be balanced and say, so people make decisions based on emotion, it's defended logically, but then you add the money equation and somebody like you, and somebody that's a savvy investor, I would ask you that question, you're pretty good at separating the emotion out of it, right? So there has to be a business case for it. But then again, would you say there's also times where you're like, you know what? There's something else here and I can't put my finger on it. And so in those moments, what is that thing that you can, that X factor, that thing that I just can't put my finger on? Maybe the money doesn't make sense, but I believe in something. Those are all those hidden pieces that sort of come together. I personally believe it's when people don't share who they are. And so, because I'm investing in a person a lot of times. And do I trust this person? Maybe this doesn't make sense initially, but there's something else that's bigger here. And so too often people eliminate the human behind the presentation.
That is such a great answer. Do you guys agree with this? Yeah. Like Rhea Campbell, where's Rhea? Okay, cool. So Rhea, I do not like boutique hotels. I'm glad she's not here. But I invested $100,000 into her boutique hotel. Why? Because it was Rhea, right? She has that X factor. She's the jockey, and I wasn't betting on the horse. I was betting on the jockey. Yeah. She's the kind of jockey that if the horse breaks its leg, she's gonna drag that freaking horse across the finish line.
She would. That's so. There's so many people out there that are willing to do that, don't know how to tell their story. It's like I was telling to somebody, because we do this workshop where we bring like 10 people at a time to my house, and we teach them for 2.5 days presentation skills. But it begins at dinner, and the dinner idea is basically it's a 7 to 10 course tasting menu, but they think it's a meet and greet. It's not. That's the dinner. The workshop starts, and there's a ground rules. No more side conversations the rest of the night. Because I want to see how they carry a room, what their voice is like, and are they timid? But then also the food comes out, they're not allowed to touch it until the chef explains it. And so it comes out, we have this visual response, because light travels faster than sound, so I'm gonna make some assumptions, and there's gaps between what I know and what I see, and your past experience is gonna fill in that gap. And so we allow that gap to be filled, and then we go, okay, now the chef explains it, and let's say you don't like mushrooms for some reason. We brought a plate that had 14 mushrooms. This guy literally said, I hate mushrooms. I have a visceral response. I want to vomit. So we brought him a plate of 15 mushrooms, 16 mushrooms. And he's literally, you can see his panic. And then the chef starts telling the story and where he gets the mushrooms and how they forage them themselves. He goes, but see that one with the yellow stripe on it? Put that to the side. He goes, that one only grows under catastrophe. And the guy that's sitting about, he's like, catastrophe? What do you mean? He goes, yeah, when there's lightning storms, tornadoes, earthquakes, it feels the fear and it comes out. And now he's like, now he's completely rethinking the whole idea based on the story. And so in that moment, he ended up eating all the mushrooms. He goes, I didn't die, #1, and I actually was intrigued. And I said, what does that mean to your business? And he looked at me and he goes, and something clicked for him. He goes, I have a bunch of salespeople that look at making calls the way I look at making mushrooms. He goes, I have to be a better storyteller. Ooh. And it was like this moment where, I'm sure we all share the same fear of rejection, the same fear of making that phone call. What if they say no? Am I gonna sound stupid? Do I understand the product? Am I gonna lose? We all share the same stories, which by the way, I want to come back to with the genius that you've created here, because I'm blown away with this. But when we realize that there's that piece that we can get past it through the right story or through the right mentality or even just being around the right people, it makes all the difference in the world. So I think maybe the second piece to your first question would be the biggest mistake is not surrounding yourselves around people that are already doing it. Because this is the risk, this is the elimination of risk. You got, just by averages, you have solutions in the room. I mean, I saw you do it there. I was sitting back and going, this is an actual community. This is real community in a world of fake gurus and people using seminars like this. I've been doing this 30 years, and so I sit back and I watch. And I was doing this before all of these seminars and all the gurus came around. So I came from a world you had to add value, or you just get fired. And you watch people read a book and sell a seminar, and then all the lawsuits are coming out, and I came here. I'm like, okay, this is like a real community.
Yeah.
So,
do you guys feel that?
Yeah. Congrats to you guys.
Dude, you missed the whole, we had a 17-minute intro just about you. Now, there's people that have spoken impact, right? They come on stage and they're really loud and they're, maybe like an Ed Milet, which powerful,
Very
definitely
powerful.
not a criticism for me to say that. But then there's other people that demand the attention of a room without saying anything. Are there any secrets to that, or maybe some common denominators you see between people having that skill?
Yeah, so a lot of people make up in loudness what they lack in content. And so what I tell people is if you want to know the difference, take what I call, there's the yellers and the screamers. Take it and then transcribe it and read it. And what do you see? And if you find content that's valuable, it's there. Oftentimes you feel like, you guys are this, you guys haven't done this, you are crappy at this, insert other words. And it's this, and then you read it, you go, what did I get out of it? But the yelling and screaming brings energy and adrenaline, and you see the aspirational appeal to what's going on, which is one of the most unethical forms of marketing. It's the 6-minute abs, or 30 days to financial freedom. And so anybody here have abs? Oh, what's your name? Would you ever buy 6-minute abs? Why? Because that's not how it works, right? Okay, so 30 days of financial freedom, would you buy that?
No.
No, why? It just doesn't work that way, right? But it appeals to the insecure person that says, I can't do the work in the kitchen or the gym or the financial discipline, but I can do 30 days, I can do 6 minutes, and I'll buy. And they buy. And then we are all going, well, why is the masses buying it? And we go, well, are the masses
selling dopamine?
Yes, exactly what they're selling. But are the masses more confident or more insecure?
Insecure.
Insecure, so it appeals to the masses. And so then those aspirational appeals, they get on stage, they yell and scream, they show their cars, they do all those things. I was at an event, luxury real estate event in Miami, and they said, can we come out of speaking there? Can you come out and do an interview? I'm like, sure. And they bring me out to this Ferrari. And I go, I'm not standing next to that. They go, why? I go, I don't own it. And two, I probably don't fit in it. And so I have a video of me trying to get into a Lamborghini. It was the stupidest thing ever. I had to crawl to the other side to get a knee in and get up, and the head was here. It was like, this is stupid. No, but I go, here, take this video. I go, I'm gonna be looking at it. And I go, oh, cool. I said, isn't this crazy? This is not mine. I go, but it's interesting the people that would buy this, and they had a message around the wealthy mindset. That's okay with me, but I don't own that. Yeah. And so to me, it's the wrong message of what's going on. And so, yeah.
You talk to people and teach them about influence, but influence isn't just about being on stage or being on Instagram or YouTube. It's micro moments, right?
Yes.
Like even here today, networking with each other. We have about half this room are already friends with each other because they've been hanging out for 3, 4, 5 years. Like Jen, one of my good friends in this community, and Yumi, my brand new friend in this community. Like it's so cool to see the two dynamics in the same room. But they're having micro conversations with each other.
Yep.
Are there ways that you coach people along on how to have networking or short conversations in a better way? Like what are people getting wrong about networking in rooms just like this? Anything that you could coach them along?
For sure. Yeah, I think people think influence is speaking on stage. I spoke anywhere from 250 to 200 to almost 100 times a year. And that's very busy speaker, but the majority of my influence comes from what you just mentioned. It's one-on-one conversations, entering a room. And so you have to realize that light travels faster than sound. So how you visually present yourself matters. People are gonna visually do that. They don't have a choice. We do that. We see things and your brain is automatically filling things in. I'm not saying you have to dress to the nines, but you have to have an organized quality to you, right? Make sure things are in an organized fashion. But then also how you stand, how you sit somewhere, right? This would be communicating something. And it's a choice that I have, but it's also usually a reflection of what's going on in my mind. And so where you stand in the room, how you position yourself, and then I tell people in networking events, go first. Walk up to somebody, hey, how are you? Just that one thing, go first. And because most people at networking events are shy, they're a little bit nervous, they're coming because they need to network, so there's a real need there. And there's also a real human side of fear there. And if I could be the one to solve that for you, if I could be the one just to fix that and make it irrelevant to you, instead of judging it, like, talk about a small club to be a part of, right? We used to teach our groups, our clients, as they host these big events, I'll come speak at, and they'll bring me, but I go, I want to train your salespeople, and they go, and your ops staff before we get there. I go, how to host an event. I go, because they'll show up as guests to their own event. They grab coffee and they sit against the wall. And I go, if you were inviting someone to your house, what would you do? You'd meet them at the door. Hey, how's it going? Can I take your jacket? You want to get coffee? Let me grab that for you. And then we teach this process where we'll go through in 15-second interviews where, what's your name?
Jen.
Jen comes here, she's pretend she's a realtor.
Badass boss Jen.
Badass boss Jen.
And you're nervous, and you're there, and somebody comes up to you and be like, like, hey, what's your name? Jen, great, nice to meet you. I say, cool, you're being here, you have a little conversation. Within about 10, 15 seconds, I'm saying, and it's, what's your name, Tyler? I'd be like, have you met Tyler? Oh, Tyler's amazing. He's done all these great things. Let me show you Tyler. And I read Tyler, hey, this is Jen, she's doing this right here. He takes over, 10 seconds. He's having this conversation. Within 10, 15 seconds, he's like, hold on a second, have you met Dee? Oh, Dee's amazing. She runs the whole show. We wouldn't be able to do anything without Dee. Dee, have you done this? And in about 50 to 80 seconds, she's met 10 people. How are you feeling now?
Amazing.
Like you're at home immediately. And so then he's already off to 10 people, and all of a sudden this just spreads in like 5 minutes. And everybody at this event, they're going, I don't know what it was about this, but this just feels different here. I mean, it's such a simple thing you can do by solving the human need of people already feeling that way. I say 3 Ps. If you can predict a behavior, do something to preempt it, to prevent it. Predict, preempt, prevent.
Are you primarily training people on their sales teams? What are you primarily training on?
My background is behavioral neuroscience, but I sold cookware door to door for 4 years in college.
Cookware. What
Yeah.
would this be? Not Tupperware.
Salad Master.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
$2,500 a set.
Does anybody have one of those
Salad
still?
machines, the whole thing. Yeah.
You did door to door.
Oh yeah, for 4 years. Best thing ever.
That's
That was
badass.
hand me down. Like, that's gold.
Oh, it is. I still have my set, like literally still have my set. So I did that. I went to school for behavioral neuroscience, sold cookware door to door, went to work for change management consulting firm that used brain research for culture change and massive scale hostility. And then, of course, leadership training, all that stuff kind of came in. And to me, sales, leadership, change, and communication, all that wraps up into influence. And so that's sort of it came. So I work with leaders, I work with politicians in different countries, I work with celebrities, but also work with salespeople. Anybody that needs to influence, and that's the one thing we all have in common, is how do I take an idea, one, get you to listen to it, how do I capture and break through all the noise, and then get you to act on it. And that's the part that people miss, is how do you act on the behavior? There's entertaining, but then there's influence. And my lesson for that was, when I was in college, I was so excited about being this great salesman. And I'd do presentations. This is me shooting a salad. I put a potato in, it all comes out, right?
You're doing this from door to door.
Yeah, oh yeah, 10 people at a time. I'd walk in, so I remember going, I looked kind of the same in college. I played basketball. I had a little bit more of a swagger, with basketball. And nobody wanted to answer the door for me, because I was like, bald kid, goatee, but I was a little bigger. And I was like, okay, this isn't working. So I went to Target and bought this cow apron, like with spots, and I put the cow hat on with the big chef's hat, pocket protector, and a clipboard. And then I walk in just differently, right? Light travels faster than sound. And I walk in and say, hi, my name is Rene Rodriguez. I'm a college intern at the University of St. Thomas, and I get paid to cook you dinner. And the best part, it's seven-course dinner, all cooked on top of the stove. I can get your children to eat a salad in a cake. I also fry your meat without any fat, grease, or oil. And I cook your vegetables without any water, retaining 90% of the vitamins and minerals as compared to 10, 20, 30% if you boil, steam, or microwave. That was 30 years ago, and it's like this.
Wow.
I didn't even plan on doing that, but it was there. And so you went there and do the presentation, and when you realize that there's a process to walk people through that just felt normal, you realize that methodology applies so much more than sales. I tell people all the time, I said, it's like, okay, imagine if your kid was going down the wrong path and you didn't have the skill set to communicate that was the wrong path. Or even worse, what if they didn't look to you first? They looked to their friends first. That to me is so much more than my ability to communicate. It's who am I before I need to communicate to you? Because influence should begin before the moment of influence is needed. Are you the first phone call for your kids, to your clients? That comes into personal branding, trust, relationships, all that stuff.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. It's needed.
Anybody immediately think of their kids, like right when you said that? I'm like, oh. I'm pretty lucky. My kids are doing the right thing, but I watched my parents struggle with that a little bit. It might have been that my parents had 12 kids, and it was hard to, pin down one-on-one.
Which one were you?
I was number 3 out of 12.
Okay.
I changed a lot of diapers.
I bet. Early leadership for you.
Yeah, early leadership. That's interesting. What advice do you have for parents to be able to be that person?
Oh man, as a parent who messed up so much, I think I told my kids this. So first, how many people have ever been frustrated with the different generations, or we think that the work ethic isn't there? Okay. Who raised them? Same hands, right? So we go, okay.
Damn, nobody's ever said it that way. That's
Yeah.
messed up.
And so then we go, okay. So let's ask the next question. How many of you grew up, difficult childhood, rough, and said, I will never let my kids go through the same thing? Show me hands. And that's where we messed up. And I go to my kids, I think they were 8 and 9, and I said, boys, I messed up. I said, I'm ruining the equation that created me. And I said, you're gonna have a nicer life, you're gonna be doing different things. I go, so we have 2 choices we need to make. One was 11, one was 8. And I said, either I teach you the lessons of life, it's gonna suck, you're gonna suffer, it's gonna be hard. I said, or life will teach you. And I promise you I'll be a lot easier than life. You don't pay your taxes, the government's happy to teach you what to do.
Hold on, I gotta write this down, dude. This is,
Yeah, and so
that's such a good bar.
but at that point I said, we also have to normalize the mistakes that we make as parents, right? Because we talk about what we call lighthouses and foghorns that sort of dictate, and I can give you an example of how that works. Lighthouses are the people that guided us, and there's a very critical time period in the brain called, between ages of 9 to 13 where our values are formulated. And so I always look at that as the first place we look at when we're trying to become influential. Like, who are you, what do you believe? Well, what happened during ages 9 to 13? Because somebody was either there as a lighthouse, they guided the way, you followed them, or they were a foghorn, they showed you what you didn't want to be. Either story is a good one, right? Because if you get foghorns in your life, and what an opportunity to create light where you had darkness, and that becomes your origin story. And we go, okay, well, I had this, and I go, guess what, you can't change that. So how about we fall in love with this because of what it taught you? Oh, you didn't have your father? I didn't have a dad, never met him. But when I see my kids, I'm like, man, right? So thank God I didn't have a dad because I can be that present now. They go, well, what, you're loving the tragedy? I'm like, I don't have another choice. Well, I do have a choice. I just don't like the other choice. The choice is to be mopey about it and wish it never happened. Well, I can't change that. How about I love that because of what it created? That's the foghorn idea. And so when we look at those pieces coming together, I go to my kids, I go, you're going to try to be like me whether I want it to be or not, whether you want it or not. I go, let's focus on what you don't want to be about me, because there's a lot of stuff you don't want to do. Take the good, but let's normalize these mistakes and make it easy to talk about it.
My gosh. I think I've just gotten through like parenthood really luckily. I haven't had these conversations with Asher, but Asher's just turned out to be such a good kid. So, but those conversations of either you're going to learn the lessons through life or you're going to learn it through me. It'll be a lot easier on you. Oh my gosh, that's such a good line. I'm going to have those conversations with my daughter Corbin.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Now, most of the people are not coming to you for parent advice.
No. Well, I get all sorts of weird advice.
I mean, it conveys into every aspect of life. Right?
Like influence applies to everything, yeah.
What do you feel like most people are taking in terms of bad habits through their past and trying to bring into their professional life? In terms of, I'm timid, I am a timid person, I'm an introvert, so I'll never be able to communicate. Those are, in my opinion, bad habits or maybe bad conversations they're having with themselves. Anything like that, or maybe that is a good one to start with?
Yeah, it's a great one. I think that we have to be careful how we speak, because there's something that happens when we verbalize something out loud. We can't always control the negative thought, but I can control what comes out of my mouth. And my friends, my colleagues, my clients say, no, it's not negotiable for me if you're going to say things like that, because it bypasses, imagine you're speaking something and then you're hearing it. Right? And so it bypasses the ego. There's a lot of research around this too. And so be really careful what we say. And then there's the identity statements. I am, I've never been, I've always this way. And I go, you're holding on to an identity. And I go, why are you defending this identity? and we would defend it for some reason. I said, why would you want to defend that you're fill in the blank? And sometimes we can just shift the way we see ourselves, even through the language that we use, and it sounds so woo-woo. It's not meant to be that way.
The older I get, the more I like woo-woo. So give me some woo-woo.
Yeah, well, to me, I like woo-woo, science woo-woo, right? Because there's got to be a science background to it, and to me, where you go, okay, to me, so my next book is actually what we call the narrative gap, and it's a next evolution of this piece. But the narrative gap is this really interesting process that happens in the moment just now. So like, ask yourself what just happened, right? So we have a big reaction over here, and so I'm so curious what happened.
He's
What did
Canadian, don't judge him.
What did you think happened?
You thought
What'd
he
you
was
think?
pausing, like having an aneurysm or something? Oh, she thought there was something wrong with her.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting piece. In fact, I saw Jordan Peterson yesterday, and he asked me about that, and I did that to him, and he's like, and I go, that's the narrative gap. And he goes, I go, what happened? He goes, my brain did this. I said, your brain cannot handle a gap in the narrative. A narrative is anything with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I said, so it's not just story. You're in a narrative right now. We're at Pace Morby's event, and this Rene speak, and he stops. Your brain goes, immediately fills it in, because we use, and this is what's crazy, we use narrative as a construct of reality. So you can't have a gap in the narrative, because we use narrative, story, categorization to understand the world around us. And if there's a gap in there, your brain neurologically goes, wait a minute, I have experience in this area. Let me fill in something from some past experience. Let me fill and make an assumption. Put that in here.
That's dangerous.
Very. Watch where it goes. So how many narrative gaps are happening on a daily basis?
I don't know. But
Endless.
a lot. Yeah.
And if our brain automatically makes an assumption in those gaps, our understanding of reality is based mostly on what?
Our own
Assumption.
Yeah.
And so those past experiences are filling in those gaps, if we're not careful, with negativity, with pessimism, or maybe it's optimism, maybe it's opportunity. So you get two people entering the same event, CEO doesn't show up, one person says, oh, John didn't show up again? He's out probably buying another yacht. I don't know how many yachts he needs. It's one way to fill the gap. Another person says, wait a minute, John didn't show up. Let me call and see if he's okay. So same event, two assumptions or two narratives filling in that narrative gap, constructing two coexisting realities. So now, the question is, which do you believe? And that's the big question. Because our customers, everybody we deal with has these gaps. The question is, why did they have different ones? Well, they had different sources of the assumption. And so why do we have different sources? Because we have different experiences. And so which source do we believe is the one that we trust, which all the more reason for a personal brand, why you should write a book, why you should be on stages, why you, so I can be the trusted source of the narrative gap. If I'm that trusted source, I have the ultimate influence, which is shifting and influencing your reality. So that's like where this goes.
That's so interesting. The CEO thing, the immediate thought I had was not, hey, he's buying a yacht. My immediate thought was, man, he must have trained his team really, really well.
So there's that gap, right? So there's that assumption.
I'm like, wait, a CEO that doesn't have to show up to his own events? That's insanely cool. I'm like, my immediate thought was like, does that guy have a mentorship I could sign up for?
I love that. But that's like to me, that's how I choose who I hang out with, is what kind of assumptions are you making in those moments? Like I did our third TED Talk, and I was there, and we came up with these phrases. In a TED Talk, you have a short period of time. And my closing was that in each silence between us, there lies a choice. And that choice is how do we fill that silence, either with stories that build walls or stories that build bridges. Like we have this choice on how we do that. And then so we go like he went to, man, that CEO went there. Like I wouldn't have thought that. Like that was, that's a brilliant thought. I go, I need to adopt that. I have a friend of mine who, you might know Derek Fay. You know Derek Fay? Yeah, so Derek, really good friend. This guy's, he's got, those people that have gravity. Like everything just comes to them, right? Derek's one of those guys. And so we were talking, and he was telling a story about, he lives in Naples, and the floods were happening, and he's got an ungodly amount of insane cars in his garage. And he's like, we're good. We got a 18-foot thing. We're at 16 feet. We got 2 feet. We're fine. And then he hears all the sirens going off. He's like, I have a sunken garage. I forgot about that. So he goes downstairs, his Bentley, his Rolls Royce, and all the cars are floating. And it's like, he's like, so he goes in and looks outside. Now, most of us would be like, he's got $2-3 million worth of damage on his house. He's covered for $500,000. His brain, psycho, I love it. He goes, all my neighbors are gonna face the same problem. Gets on the phone during the storm to a buddy who owns an insurance company. He goes, hey, you want access to a neighborhood like this? He goes, yeah. He goes, okay, here's the partnership. Yeah, right? He made money on the storm. My brain didn't think that way.
I gotta call him and talk to him more.
I mean, my brain didn't go there. But that's
mine either.
like, so what sources do I need to be around to think this way? Go back to Ria's conversation that you guys were having back there.
Yeah.
She's going, I got this deal. I'm listening going, I am nowhere in this game that these people are playing. Like, that's the thing. I'm like, I don't play this game. I've been in real estate for 20 some years, speaking to it, but I'm not playing the game you guys are playing. And I'm listening to this, and I'm watching you and Jamil, and he's just like this, and I'm watching you doing this. So I'm watching, are they paying attention or are they thinking? And I'm like, no, they're thinking. And what's happening? And then he goes, well, what if you did this? And she goes, okay, that's the solution. And it was like, what was that worth? Right? And it's like, you're in the right rooms, you have the right sources, you get the right fill the gaps, you make better decisions, life becomes easier.
Yeah, you know what's cool too, is in this community, what'll happen is Ria goes and solves this problem in Oregon. Crazy deal. It came to you from a SubTo member. This will come up again with somebody else in 6 months, and I'll go, call Ria. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what's so cool, is that we can help fill each other's gaps up. And you'll go through the experience, and Jamil gave you that one piece, and you go, that was the one missing piece I needed. That made your whole trip probably worth it, just that one sentence from Jamil. Is Jamil in here? He's probably taking a break. Did he work his freaking guts out this week or what?
I have this crazy deal that I need help with, boots on the ground. We're gonna do sewer, we're gonna do pull electric. He's like, oh yeah, we got you. And I was like, oh my God. The whole thing just came together full circle with like, and then, I come here and I'm thinking I need to figure out how to corner Pace and Jamil and like run this by them, right? Like it just, if you get in the rooms and you're exchanging molecules, it happens.
To your point, with the people that have the ability to actually fill in the gaps the proper way.
And then but people then worry about, I got to pay a flight to get out there in a hotel? It's like, yes. This is why you do things like this.
What do you say to the people that don't believe they need a brand?
Oh.
And I'll tee you up as you maybe marinate on that for a second. Because somebody who's built a brand and has done such a great job doing it, you understand the power and the fruit that it bears. Mm-hmm. You know how hard the seed is to plant, and the patience you need to water that every day. But you also know what the fruit tastes like on the other end. Yep. And it's like explaining to somebody you need to have this fruit when they don't even have any taste buds. They have no ability to taste what it feels like to have a personal brand. I've never had a mentorship around social media, but I teach. Have I taught any of you guys social media? Yes. At a very high level? Yes. Okay. I have people that go, you've taught me, I paid $100,000 for this guy to teach me social media, and you taught more than he ever did. But 99% of people don't take action on it.
Well, so I always begin, I started a branding agency, thought leader branding agency this last year. And because everybody's asking me, Rene, how'd you do? And I go, I can show you a thought leader. This is what I did. That's it. I'm not going to talk about the other stuff. But then I started with this question. I go, so what is a brand? You want to build this thing? Define it. Think about it. What's your answer? And they're like, well, it's your reputation. I'm like, what does that mean? Well, it's a feeling. And you never get an answer. I said, okay, hold on a second. Have you ever seen, so we got to start at ground one, which is, by the way, creating the frame. Because I have to understand the premise by which you're thinking something. If that's off, the foundation's off, anything else we do won't make any sense. So we begin there. I said, okay, have you seen Yellowstone? Have you seen Yellowstone? Yeah. Okay, what's that thing that some people call it a brand. Well, it's a branding iron. So now we go branding, which means there's a verb to it. Okay, so that's a branding iron. So your act of branding. So what's that thing on the end? What's that yellow? People say it's the logo. Or it's the brand, they say. I say, no, that's the logo mark. I go, okay, but that represents a brand. Okay, well, what's the brand? What's it representing? And their brain's not going. I said, okay, would you allow that yellow thing to be burned on your skin? They go, no. I said, well, why'd that guy? And I showed a picture of the guy that has a yellow brand. They go, because of what it represents. I'm like, okay, we're getting close. What does it represent? And they go, well, nobody would hire them. And I said, okay, would you ever tattoo someone else's logo on your skin? They go, no. Would you?
I mean, we have about 100 SubTo members that have done that. So.
Yeah.
So now, and I agree with you. Most people say no, and I said, well, why is Harley the #1 tattoo in the world?
Is it really?
Yeah, #1. I've never seen a Honda tattoo. That'd be kind of weird.
Anybody here have a Honda tattoo?
I actually said that, and one guy goes, hey, hold on a second. I was like, and so they go, but it makes sense with Harley. Why? And I said, here, let me tell you the best story that I know. My friend Neil Ford, which you would love him. And Neil was one of the top 10 most decorated creative directors in the world. But he's just a loving dude. He's got a great social media platform. And just tells stories. So he told a story. He goes, imagine, you married?
Yeah.
Okay, so go back to your first date. And,
Yep.
right?
Kona Grill, white pizza. Yep.
Perfect. So now, halfway through the date, you're going, this is the girl of my dreams.
Yep.
I need to see her again. And he musters the courage up and he goes, hey, I really had a great time tonight and I'd like to see you again. And she plays it cool. She says, you know what, Pace? I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know. And she turns around, but then stops, comes back and looks you up and down. She goes, but if I do decide to see you again, you have to do it on one condition. You have to promise me not to wear that shirt because that shirt, that's an unfair advantage. Winks at you and walks away. How are you feeling every time you wear that shirt going forward? Like $1 million.
Like King Kong, dude.
Like King Kong, right? Now, here's the funny thing.
What's the shirt?
Did it have
What shirt
anything
is
to
it?
well, watch, this is
I need to buy that shirt right now.
Oh, every color. But here's the lesson. Did it have anything to do with the quality of the shirt, the manufacturer, the color, the fit? So none of the value propositions mattered. What mattered were two things, which is one, what mattered there? Most people will say what? A feeling. And people say that's a brand. I said that's half the equation. It's a feeling that made you a promise. If I wear this shirt, I can land the girl of my dreams. And that's what a brand is. So go back and you know this. Anybody wear Jordans as a kid? Yeah. Could you run faster and jump higher when you put them on? I could. What's the Jordan promise?
You can fly, baby.
Well, here's the funny part. This is where branding gets crazy. You already know the answer, but you don't even know the answer, but you do. Watch, you'll fill in the back. If you wear these shoes, you could be like Mike. There's the brand promise. Be like Mike. So all his commercials aren't about the quality of the shoe, the stitching. You watch them fly through the air. And if I could be like this. And so it's this unconscious process. So to answer your question, those who don't think they need it, we all have a brand. Period. How many people do you know, the moment X person's involved, they're going to be late?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that
Let me
brand.
see it. Let me look at anybody in here that I can pick on. Who's my late people? Okay, we don't have any late people in here.
So we know there's your brand promise. Or some of you know they're involved, you better sharpen your pencil because they're going to ask you a number of questions. Or that person that comes in, you better be really careful on your inclusion language because they're going to hold you to task. Or whatever that promise is, there's a promise that precedes your entering a room. And so to me, I look at what promise do I want to make somebody, and what feeling is associated to that. But the feeling is created through shared experience. And so there's a process of creating a brand, what we call your ethos, which would be the essence of who you are. And then we say, okay, now how do I then condition a marketplace for that? So Pavlov's dog, if you've heard of Pavlov's dog. So we say we have this process of conditioning. If I ring a bell to a dog will just look at the bell. But if I feed a dog, it'll cause the dog to salivate. So then how can I train this dog to salivate with a bell? Well, I feed the dog and ring the bell. Feed the dog, ring the bell. And to do that enough times, I can just ring the bell, the dog will salivate. Well, our logos are a bell. You do this and your social media is a bell. No one's responding. The food is the quality of the content, right? So that happens on social media, it happens in articles, it happens in books, it happens when you show up, it happens all these areas. And so you look at all the expressions of the brand promise of who you are, and then you say, if you converge those to the middle, right? All the things you're doing, whether it's a podcast, book, all those things, do they say the same thing? That's the validity test, and we want convergent validity, where all the things come back to one. And if you do that for enough period of time, pretty soon they see a logo mark, and there's this feeling that comes over you, and a promise that unconsciously follows. And that's that trust.
Number one question I get every day is, how do I get everything done? I have 9 companies, 600 employees. We have customers all over the globe. We're doing fix and flips. We're doing buy and holds, apartments, RV parks, all of those things. Everybody wonders, how did I scale? How did I get to a higher level? And the answer is that, GoHighLevel. I use a CRM that allows all of my customers to come into one database. And instead of me hiring more employees to go and do all the follow-up, GoHighLevel has systems and automations that does all of that for me. So not only can I have my employees focus on higher end tasks, money-making tasks, GoHighLevel avoids all of the extra payroll. When you're brand new, having GoHighLevel is like having 5 different employees doing all the work for you just for a monthly fee. Go to GoHighLevel.com/Pace to learn how I'm using it, not only in my lending business, but my wholesale business, my fix and flip business. Literally, GoHighLevel controls the entire back end of all 9 of my companies. Go to GoHighLevel.com/Pace to learn more.
I need to build my brand.
Well, how many of you know if Pace says something, the answer's already yes, what is it, right? So there's a promise that comes to it, and you're delivering. And before I get here, because I know you and I met, and do you remember when we first met?
There's a bunch of dudes around.
Yeah, we were there back at Limitless stage. And I'm sort of new into that crew. So I was helping Keaton with his presentation, Justin, helping all those guys with their presentation. And then I kept hearing this name, Pace Morby. And then I didn't know that was you. And I'm like, oh, so what do you do? And then everyone looks at me like I just have 37 heads. And he said some humble but yet smart response, and I'm like, shit, I just hope I didn't offend that guy. That was pretty stupid. And no, but you were super cool about it. And so then I was like, wow, I'll never be around that guy. So when Brittany called, I was like, cool, because everything I'd heard about you was best community in the country, like true value being added. So there's a promise already being made, but think about how many times, and that's the piece you said, how many times have you had to deliver that for that to be the case? How many years? How many empty rooms?
Yeah. Jamil, who's not in here, it went back to 2015, 16. We got in a minivan and just drove around the country and met people. We're on the road for 45 days at a time, just sharing hotel rooms and just shaking people's hands and doing it over and 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 over to the point where everybody else would have just been like, this is stupid, what are we doing?
And then we host a webinar, wonder why people don't show up.
Yeah,
I did it once.
Yeah, I did it once. I tried to do
work.
it. I did what you told me, Rene.
Yeah.
I did it, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Tell me why it didn't work. Building a brand, that's an interesting thing. I tell people, you're building a brand whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
Sometimes that brand is you are inconsistent, you have self-esteem issues, you don't show up, you're timid. That also is your brand.
Totally.
So either you brand yourself intentionally, like what you're talking about, or you let the world brand you based on just your actions, right? So you have an agency.
I do thought leader branding for a very select few people.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, these are people that have good content and they're good people that never have figured out how to get it to the world. And so it's very boutique, meaning it's not on my website, but some people you would know that we have taken their identity and brought it out to the world. So yeah.
I love that. Okay, so real estate investors. I know you work with a lot of real estate agents. People that are in the real estate world, what advice would you give to them regarding from what you teach?
If I'm you guys, deal flow at that point. If you have a brand, people are going to come to you. And so stage, people say, why do you speak on stage? It says 2 things. It increases my price and eliminates sales cycle time. Right, so at that point, it used to take me 6 to 9 months to get to a CEO, but then I'm on stage and I do well. They're sitting at the bottom of the stairs saying, how can we get you? So that compression of time, we call it leverage and compression. So we're leveraging, I say less, more accomplishes, but compressing time down. So a few hundred people in the room, one meeting with a few hundred versus 100 one-on-one meetings.
How many people feel that? Like if you were wanting to build a brand, you would want to hire somebody like Rene? Like just because, it's really good, right? Okay, I love that. Ria, you were on stage. How many people wanted to do a deal with Ria? But 5 hours ago, who did not know who Ria was?
So powerful.
That's powerful. But that's such a powerful thing. Same thing with Casey, right? Same thing with the other two gals that were on the stage.
I think the last minute, just like he said, I'm sorry. I think it's just last minute, like he said, is that she paused in her mind. She tried to find some word for it. She didn't find it. It says, I think she said, "A stupid guy. He doesn't know who I am."
No, I don't think so. Not at all. I know Rhea really, really well.
What's interesting, you just brought up the three questions that most of us fail at, which I hate these three questions. Who are you? What do you do? What makes you unique? And that, where we begin with people, usually if there's a keynote, we'll solve that for the group. Like it's just, let's just get that question out of the way so you know how to solve that. And when people are asked that, you may not be asked specifically literally those, but those are the three general pieces, like who are you, what do you do, and what makes you unique? Where's the value in that? And so if I were to ask somebody, like, do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Like, who feels like they don't have much of a story?
Who feels like they don't have much of a story?
They're not good at this.
They don't want to be picked on.
So since you're right here.
Hey,
so,
Herb, you want to get smoked right now?
what do you want?
Sorry, keep making weed
so,
jokes.
Okay, so did you want, we'll start,
Herbert.
we'll come back to you. So is Herbert, who are you? What do you do? What makes you unique? Stand up.
He's like, Pace, I hate you.
Herbert Washington. I don't know too much what make me unique. I mean,
So bottom line, it's a really tough question. Like
Right.
really, really hard question. And so what happens is, and the reason that we fail at that is we fall into what we call a question trap, which is three things. Most people don't put much thought into the questions that they ask us.
Is this why you don't like these questions?
Well, I don't like because they're hard to answer.
Okay, got
And
it.
so I want to change the game a little bit.
Okay,
right?
sweet. I'm
And
here
so,
for I'm buckle up, guys.
So we go, we have to understand the game first. And that's the big piece. It's like, what's happening? So one, most people don't put much thought into the questions they ask. You ever ask somebody how they're doing, and then they actually answer, and you realize you didn't have the time, nor did you care. Right? And so we get into these sort of rote
Is this
routine
why you stopped
questions.
asking me how I'm doing, Sarabi?
Second, we feel compelled to answer questions that are asked of us, even if they're dumb questions. And third, the person asking the question is leading. So now what happens when we put all three of those together? I feel compelled to let somebody lead me down a path that they didn't put much thought into. So that sort of clicked. I'm like, okay, I don't want to play that game. So we're going to play a different game. We're still going to answer the questions, but we're going to do this the quick version. Can you give me 2 words, 3 words that make you unique? And don't try to give me marketing language. What means something to Herbert? Do you like Herb or Herbert?
family guy, and I care about people.
So you're family and you care about people. So let me ask you another question. Between the age of 9, so would you say that family and caring is part of your value system?
Yes.
So if we know that, we can use a little science, and science says those values are formulated not recently, but all the way back to ages 9 to 13. So now that's the breadcrumb. So something happened in that time period to solidify those values for you. And they were either solidified either through the lighthouse, somebody exemplified caring and family, or you had the opposite, where they didn't, and you felt the darkness of that. And because you had darkness, you decided to be the light. Does that make sense? So when you think about, choose family or caring, which one is on your heart the most?
Family.
Family, all right. So between the ages of 9 to 13, what name comes to mind as somebody that really exemplified family, or the lighthouse, meaning they were the guiding light, or maybe they were the foghorn. They were the opposite of what family meant to you. So who was it? Were they a lighthouse or a foghorn?
My grandma, lighthouse.
Lighthouse. Do you notice in his tone of his voice when he said that? By the way, one of the things I teach people is listen not just what people say, but listen to what people value. So he's like, if my tone changes, it's one of those things that, who do you value? My grandmother. Do you feel that tone? That is an unconscious process of something valuable to him. And you have to listen through his eyes, not your own. I may hate my family, but if I'm listening through his eyes, family's important to him. And so grandmother, family, she was a lighthouse?
Yes.
So what I want you to do is tell me a very short story about your grandmother between the ages of 9 to 13 and how she was a lighthouse for family. And start with I remember when, and microphone a little higher. I remember when.
Well, I remember when my grandma, she had like diabetes, and she was coming in the house one time, and she tripped over a dog, and it like paralyzed her for like all of her life until she passed. And it was like me, my sister, and my little brother, we had to take care of her, like, because she was taking care of us, so we had to turn around and take care of her. And she just showed me like a lot of stuff, like that's how I know how to cook, I know how to do, because if like she would be sitting down and like she's like, get up there and get that. And I couldn't reach the stuff, but I had to get up on the cabinet to get it. So she was like, get this, and then had to stand up to the stove, put the chair to the stove and cook and stuff. So she just like taught us a lot of stuff.
She taught you all that?
Yeah, by sitting down.
So what do you do right now for work?
Real estate now. I was a welder. I was a welder and a UPS worker.
And so you right now, do you want to teach people the skills that you're learning here too?
Sure.
Is that right? Okay, so can I just for speed's sake, can I just give you, repeat what you said, but I'm going to change the sequence of it? Yeah. And this might be your answer. Somebody says, who are you? What do you do? What makes you unique? Instead of saying, I'm Herbert, I'm in real estate, and I don't know what makes me unique. It's your first answer. You might say, my grandmother was one of the most important people in my life. I remember when I was a kid, she took care of all of us, and she tripped and hurt herself. So she couldn't really protect herself. And so me and my brothers, we started taking care of her. He was the person that taught us how to cook, how to clean, how to be good people. And we got a chance to do that for her. And during that process, I learned that all of the things that she was always there for us, it was my opportunity to do that for her. And I found more fulfillment in that than anything I'd ever done. And so for me, I was a welder, worked for UPS, and then I was introduced to the world of real estate. And people showed up for me the same way my grandmother showed up for me. And they taught me things I never knew. And now I get a chance to do this and do the real estate, but more importantly, what makes me happy is actually teaching people what these people taught me. So in essence, what do? I get a chance to relive and give the gift back that my grandmother gave to me. I get to give to my colleagues, my investors every day. And so what's powerful about that is that imagine cutting through all the noise in a networking event, but then more importantly, you're living from something that's truly meaningful to you. And at that point, you have something more valuable. Like if I buy into those values, the neurons that we have really truly start to couple together. It's called neurocoupling. And the outcome of neurocoupling is rapport. Rapport is trust. And so to me, now it's not about price with you, it's about being in something together. And that I'll say no to price, I'll say no to other things because it's that connection. And that's that X factor, but it can happen real fast.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Bro, you killed that. The thing is, do we not all feel more connected to him right now?
Yes.
Thank you, Rene, that was amazing.
And what's cool too, is that look at how his nerves went away. Like people try to get nervous. I said, I don't care if you're nervous. You can influence a crowd with nerves. It doesn't matter. We don't care about nerves. Like what we care about is, I'll give you an example. If I've got a shaking glass and I'm up here and I'm saying, hey everybody, I'm really excited to be here. And you're gonna listen to my voice or you're gonna listen to my hand? My hand. And so what you're picking up on is not that I'm shaky, there's an incongruency. I'm saying I'm excited, but my hand is saying I'm scared. So if I were to say, okay, hold on a second. Hi, being up here is not easy for me, but you guys all mean a lot to me, and I really wanted to say a few things. Does this bother you anymore? No. Not at all. And so the congruency is what we want. And so because you were congruent with what you were saying, your nerves went away, and memories are memorized. And so you just hit play on a memory, and you know what to do with that memory. All of a sudden, that's literally the secret weapon for storytelling, and even dealing with nerves is just playing back to what you've already lived.
Rene, gosh dang. How can people work with you?
Good question. Lots of ways. I mean, lots of ways. Get the book. If you guys follow me on social media, Learn with Rene, that'd be really good.
Hey, let's follow him on Instagram, everybody.
Yeah.
There's somebody in here that doesn't have Instagram. Meet me in the hallway. I'm going to karate chop you so hard.
Yeah, we did. I wasn't planning on pitching. I was just really excited to be here. So if there's we just did a, do you remember Tony Robbins' Personal Power?
Yeah.
Like the 30-day thing?
Yeah.
So like 10 years ago, I'm like, man, like that was like really cool, but no one's ever done anything since. And so about 6 months ago, I'm like, I go, what if Personal Power and Atomic Habits had a baby that was fathered by influence, Amplify? And we looked at this, and I spent 6 months writing a 30-day, 1 micro change per day. Because I was like, we do these big transformations. I go, but what if somebody can't afford the $6,000 to go through that? But if I just made 1 micro change, and we wrote 30 days of this, and by day 1, the lesson is how to walk into a room. So it's real simple. You walk in a room, and what most people do when they walk into a room is they get real quiet and they get small. They don't want to be seen, and they go to their seat. I said, okay, so what if you walked in? There's a book I read at 18 years old called Lions Don't Need to Roar. My mother made me read this. And what they taught was you walk in a room and you stand in the doorway for 2 full seconds. And you just look around, slight smile, and you choose a spot and you walk to it. And that's it. So like if you want to network, walk in a room, stand in the doorway for just 2 seconds. Now those 2 seconds feels like 10 minutes. 2 seconds, and then you walk with purpose. That's day 1. Day 2, you can do the same thing, but 10% taller. And so you walk in 10% taller. Day 3, how do you do that in a chair, right? Because I'm here, but if I was here, it'd be a very different experience for different purposes. And so building those 2 pieces up. So we're literally in pre-launch of that. So if you want to be on the waiting list, click the link.
How can they get there? Through Instagram?
Instagram should be right there on the waiting list.
And Instagram handle?
Learn with Rene, that one.
Oh, they're putting it up right there. All right,
Perfect.
easy.
Thank
Take
you.
your phones out. Let's
Thank you.
all follow him.
Very kind of you, thank you.
Guys, do me a favor. Do you think that he felt incredible when he walked in here today?
Like $1 million.
That was the coolest thing, right?
I was not expecting that.
What's
yeah, it was
crazy
really
is we had, we have our 3,000 person event, and it is just bonkers. Bonkers. And Tony Robbins sent me a text this morning, and he says, hey, Dean told me how incredible your guys' audience is. I want to make sure I'm at your event in 2026.
That's cool.
And it's because of the love that we show to our speaker. What I want to do is, you guys, as somebody who goes on stage, it's not easy. It really is not easy. It becomes easier, obviously, as you develop that muscle. But I always want to know, what's like the one thing that somebody took away from me when I was on that stage, right? I took the courage, I took the time, I flew here, all of those things. Do him a favor. Do me a favor. You, me. Go on Instagram and say, this was the most impactful thing that you said today, so that he can get that feedback. Not that he needs it, but it's always nice to get a little bit of love.
Yeah, very helpful.
Guys, give it up for Rene, please. This is freaking awesome.
One of the most common questions I get is, what title company do I use? What title company am I using in Arizona, Atlanta, California, Texas, whatever? The answer for many years was a different title company in every state, because not every state handles transactions the same way. Now, the answer is one title company. It's Creative Title and Escrow. Go to getcreativetitle.com/podcast. You can learn how they will do SubTo deals, seller finance deals, cash transactions, gator deals, double close, transactional lending, whatever, even novation agreements. There's really nothing that Creative Title and Escrow can't do. To learn how brand new investors are using Creative Title all the way up to the biggest players in the industry, head over to getcreativetitle.com/podcast.